Say hello to Don't Mess with Texas Bucky. A long time ago in college, I asked my English professor, how can I read faster? And he looked at me and said, why would you want to read faster? Oh, well, you might see the title of this video and think, why would you want to write music faster? It's supposed to be a fun, enjoyable process. Well, sometimes a project comes along and it's got to be done fast. I've worked on my fair share of last-minute projects, and the person that can deliver what the client wants in the fastest amount of time often gets the gig, even if you're not writing music for media on a deadline. What I'm about to show you will help you fight through the clutter, develop systems, and hopefully find your way to that flow state that you're always hearing everybody talk about, but you've never been able to experience for yourself. Most of the advice I'm going to give happens long before you even get the call. You need to know the sounds that you have available to you, whether that's guitars and synths, or most likely it's plugins. Plugins after plugin after plugin. I've purchased way too many virtual instruments over the years. I couldn't even tell you half that I have on my computer. And now there are so many free options that come with software that you probably don't know either. The best thing you can do, and I'm giving you permission, is to take a day or two and just figure out what it is that you actually have, pick your favorites, and learn those at a deeper level. I understand why you need 20 different pianos, but you need to know what each piano can do so that when you get the assignment, you know exactly where to go first. When you're on the clock, that's not the time for experimentation and going to see what all you have. It's time to know and make a choice and go with the instruments that you have some experience with. Number 2, ask questions. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to talk to the client, but there's usually somebody in between you and the client that has some information. Ask for reference tracks. Try to figure out who the client is so you can research the work that they've done in the past. Try your best, and I think this is the most important part, and I'll probably talk about it more as I go down this list. You need to figure out what kind of feeling or emotion the client wants the final viewer of this piece of work to have. Which leads to point number 3, take time to research, especially if it's a sound that's not in your wheelhouse. Now, my suggestion is, this isn't the time to learn how to write trap music if that's not your thing. This isn't a time for you to learn polka or Tejano. But if that's the assignment, that's what you've got to figure out. One of the nice things about commercial ad music now is it's often a hodgepodge of style. So sometimes you can add a little polka to your acoustic finger style sound that maybe you have or I have. So oftentimes, if you lean into your strength, whatever that is, piano, guitar, pop, you sound like Coldplay, I don't know, and you add a little Tejano flair, maybe that's enough, and that might appeal to a larger audience, and the client might like that. But the last thing you want to do is deliver authentically bad Tejano music. Number 4, copy the temp, question mark, question mark. Temp love is a real thing. Film composers talk about this all the time, but it happens in the media world too. Someone's been listening to a track for a long time. They wish they could get that track, but they can't. So again, I go back to the feeling that the end user needs to have. Although there are certain instruments that do provide a certain type of feeling, a kazoo does not evoke the same feeling that a soaring violin part does. But notes are notes and chords are chords. But I would argue that the distance between the root and the major third and the root and the minor third matters more than whether or not you have a telly or a 335. Keep this in mind when you're trying to copy something without copying it, is that the legal team always wins. The creative director who's 25 years old and has all the great ideas, well, you want to impress them, but if you get a little too close, I promise the legal team is going to have something to say about that. Most likely they'll just go to another track, or you'll have to start over. So if you need more reasons than artistic integrity to not rip somebody off, well, lawsuits. Number 5, box yourself in. This is similar to the first part, understanding your sounds, but give yourself a basic template. I'm not a template guy. I always start from scratch, which is probably not very efficient. But in this case, give yourself 8 instruments. If it's kind of a traditional pop sound, decide what you're going to use for keys, what bass sound you're going to use, what drum library, or are you going to go mic up your kit? Make that decision, and obviously you can switch things out if you need to, but have a place to start. Number 6, take your heart off your sleeve. You need to have music out in the world that is connected to you. This is not that. This is a job. And I know it's uncomfortable to talk about music that way, but my channel is very much about trying to find this balance between art and commerce. And some people think that cannot exist. I tend to think it can, but this is the type of music that goes into that commerce section. And if you're getting this opportunity, you've earned it by creating all the other music. The chances of you getting recognized as the composer are almost zero, and that's fine, especially if you're writing something that you don't necessarily want people to know that you wrote. Number 7, this might be the most important. It's ridiculous, but it's a problem for me. Don't eat a big lunch. I'm stuck in the studio most of the time. When 11:30 rolls around, I want to get out and I go get myself a nice hamburger. And that's always when someone calls and they're like, hey, John, I think this is good life advice. Again, I'm talking to myself. But whenever I eat a big lunch, I'm pretty much worthless in the afternoon. And so if you get that call to do the really cool thing at 1 o'clock and you can't stay awake, and the best version of you is temporarily unavailable because of digestion, well, that would be unfortunate. Number 8, I've already hinted at it a few times. Mood always wins. Now that you are ready to write, you've got everything in place. How the chord makes you feel, how the part makes you feel is more important than the instrument, the quality of the sound. You're going to have to buy sample libraries. In fact, I'm going to take this moment to tell you that I sell sample libraries. The company is called Somerville Sounds. We just released the Elskavan Toolkit, which I think would be great for this song that you're writing. Got drum libraries, a piano, and many more to come. Yes, you need to buy sample libraries like that. But oftentimes, the free libraries that you can go find, the ones that come with the bundles, there are good sounds in there and you can make them work. But oftentimes, the cheaper libraries require a discernment in you to know what that sound is capable of doing and what it's not capable of doing. So just play it the way that it sounds good and don't push it. Number 9, add the human touch. I typically always have a microphone set up. It is not set up today. I have guitars over here, rubber bridge guitar, which gives a vibe. I got my baritone guitar if I want something kind of cool and low and vibey. There's that word vibe. I've got my nylon string that's missing a string. Ukulele. Everyone is always saying that acoustic, happy, ukulele, fun music is going out of style. It is not, and it never will. Bluegrass. Got a dobro. And of course the piano. Percussion. A recorder. This is when I say that I'm 45 years old and I've been doing this for 25 years, so I've had time to accumulate this. I think it gives me an advantage, and as an aside, I think moving forward, the ability to play real instruments is going to set you apart from everyone else and every computer that makes music. Eventually the robots will learn to play pedal steel, but got a little time. Number 10, mix quick. I'll link to a video I made years ago that shows my master mix bus. It's always set up just like the plugins that you use to write. You need to know what plugins you're going to use, what EQ you're going to have, what compressor you're going to have, what limiter you're going to have, know what they do, know what they can't do, so that you're not even thinking about it. You're just going. This is one of those things that it's about the time you put in leading up to today. And you also need to be content to deliver something that's 85 to 90% of what you think it can be, which most of the time when you are writing a piece of music that's going to be used in some other context with dialogue and sound design, that extra 10% isn't going to show up anyways. Number 11, over deliver. Send a final mix, send alternate mixes, maybe try a different melodic element, have your stems ready. Even if it's not asked for, send it. If you're working directly with the client, they may not ever open it. They might love your full mix and be great with it, but it's not going to hurt, and it shows that you have an understanding of what might be needed. My hope is that this video is as much about letting you know the things that you need to work on now to prepare yourself for these moments. And I know we can debate on whether or not music should be written fast or it should be taken slow, kind of like reading a good book, reading a good novel. But I mentioned the Elskavan Toolkit. I went to Minnesota to visit the guy who made all the patches, and I got to watch him work, and it was like watching an athletic event. He was so locked into it, and I could tell that that was his happy place. That's what he wanted to be doing, and it wasn't just so he could get some result. That's how he enjoyed making music and spending his time. And I found that some of my most productive flow state moments were when I had a deadline, and I had to write quickly. So don't wait for the call to come. Maybe next week, if you can, schedule 1 hour every day where the only thing you do is write and try to come up with an idea from start to finish. You can always revisit, you can always throw away the junk and write something new, but see if it helps you get to a place where you can do your best work. And if you want another video about how to do your best work, watch one of the videos that I decided to put right here. Talk soon.